Sunday's biggest upset was in Orchard Park, where Bills beat the Packers 21-13. Aaron Rodgers had a bad game and not as in good. He was 17-42 for 185 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks. It was Rodgers' first game without a touchdown pass and multiple picks. His 40.5 completion percentage was his worst ever in a start. His 25 incompletions, a career high. It's a bad day for the bad man, Stephen A. So let me ask you this. You watch this game, and I want to know if, in fact, that loss said anything to you about Aaron Rodgers.
No, it did not. Aaron Rodgers, to me, is still the best quarterback in the game. I do believe yesterday's loss inched Brady closer to league MVP honors in a nip and tuck race, whereas I thought Aaron Rodgers was head and shoulders above even him up until yesterday afternoon. I think that right now, because of the loss and the way that Brady has been flowing in New England, right now it's a 2-horse race for league MVP honors with those 2 individuals. But at the same time, it's a bad game. I've seen Brady have them. I've seen Peyton Manning have them. It happens, and it should happen to Aaron Rodgers. I'm not overreacting to it. To me, here's the thing that everybody should pay attention to. This is no indictment against Aaron Rodgers. It's a bad game. But 2 things people need to point to. Number one, they lost this game because of Buffalo's defense, which happens to be 4th in the NFL,
Good.
which happens to be top 5 against the pass, top 10 against the rush. Buffalo's defense is no joke. And Mario Williams, after taking a year off 2 years ago, as far as I'm concerned, over the last 2 seasons, has shown up. Okay, so I give him a lot of credit, especially the forcing a fumble near the end with Aaron Rodgers. But Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, those guys, they weren't getting open with the ease that they've been getting open recently because Buffalo's defense is no joke. It's the reason why they've won 8 games for the first time since 2004 when they went 9-7. Buffalo's defense is legit. If they can find a quarterback, the Buffalo Bills, we've been talking about the Miami Dolphins to some degree, and they got humbled, which we all predicted. But Buffalo may be a team to be reckoned with if they can find a quarterback, get some offense going, because that defense is no joke. But the other thing I wanted to point out, and this is perhaps the biggest thing, Skip, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers yesterday, as far as I'm concerned, lost the NFC Championship game.
They well might have.
That's the biggest thing that took place to me, because by losing that game, in all likelihood, you may not be the #1 seed. And if you ain't the #1 seed, then you got to go on the road. And God forbid you find yourself having to end up in Seattle, because Seattle still has a shot to win the NFC West, and Seattle could still end up being the #1 seed. And if that road to the Super Bowl has to go through Seattle again, it's a wrap. Ain't nobody getting in their way. So to me, that was the most devastating part of what transpired yesterday. And that's why it's a devastating blow. Because if you're Green Bay, you had to know coming into this game, you got to be on your P's and Q's. And guess what? Their defense showed up. You gave up the punt return, the 75-yard punt return. Outside of that, they didn't get in the end zone. Last 2 points they scored was a safety on the part of Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers getting stripped. Outside of that, the defense gave up 4 field goals. That should be enough for the bad man that he is,
yes,
Aaron Rodgers, to close the deal and get it done. He didn't. He didn't. So it's on him, because even though he's not alone, and Buffalo's defense deserves credit, you the man when they're winning. I got to put you front and center when they lost. But to me, it's just a game in a regular season. It happens. But the timing of this is devastating, because it may have snatched the #1 seed, and if it has done that, Green Bay is not going to the Super Bowl.
I have to correct only one statement that you made. Tom Brady has now edged back ahead as the NFL MVP. Thank you very much.
Is that true?
That is true. You heard it here first.
Oh, okay. Breaking news.
Now, back to the Green Bay Packers. This is a bizarre football team. This is a team that bullies everybody who comes to Lambeau Field, and a team that gets its lunch money taken on the road by everybody. This team got blown out at Seattle and blown out at New Orleans, and Detroit was 7 points they scored and lost 19-7. They struggled in other road games, and then they lose to Buffalo. Seriously, seriously. if the Buffalo Bills had to go to Lambeau next Sunday, that they would lose 42-7. I'm serious. As great as their defense has been, and it's really been good, and they played the heck out of Peyton Manning and company in Denver just last week. But there's something about this team at Lambeau that is just bizarrely good, because most games at Lambeau, except against New England, are over after a quarter. Even the Atlanta game on Monday night, it was really over after a quarter. It was 31-7 at halftime, and I think they just put it neutral in the second half because they were looking ahead to, well, we got to get ready for Buffalo, because they knew it was going to be a tough test. But in this case, who was that guy who played quarterback yesterday? That's not that guy. 17 of 42. Are you kidding me? With the QBR, again, on a scale of 0 to 100, of 17.2, that's impossibly bad for that guy, because he's really, really good. I kid about him, but he's way better than that. And again, they dropped 13 balls all year. They dropped 7 yesterday. Yeah. With the Jordy catch, I'm not sure he would have scored. He might have scored. Hard to say. But we can see that play. Aaron Rodgers hit him right in the hands on this one. It would have changed the game. They're down 16-10. If he scores, it's 17-16, visiting team. And yet, Stephen A., it's so bizarre. It's the flip side of my Cowboys. So if you could combine forces, if you could combine the Packers and the Cowboys, well, what if you had a joint team where the Packers got to play the home games and the Cowboys got to play the road games? Right. Well, the Super Bowl, here they come. Right. You know, nobody could beat them. I don't know who plays on a neutral side. Maybe Dallas plays on the neutral side. I don't know. But my point is, have you ever seen anything quite like this? Because they just annihilate people at Lambeau, and then they go on the road, and it's like they lose all their confidence. Even the quarterback, who's about as arrogant and cocky a quarterback as I've ever seen, so full of himself, and then he goes to Buffalo. Buffalo, of all places, and you don't even, it's like he shrinks. We're talking about shrinking. I don't even know who the guy is. He loses all his confidence. He's a little off here and there. Balls are tipped up in the air, tipped interceptions, and it's like, here we go again. We're not at Lambeau. We don't have a chance to win this game. And then he gets strip sacked in the end zone, and that's the end of the game. Oh, great. Well, that's crazy. And frankly, they don't deserve to have home field advantage now throughout the playoffs, because you got to be better than that. And you could turn the case on me about my Cowboys. Right. If they can't beat Indy at home next Sunday, maybe they don't deserve to win the NFC East, even though they could still back into it. But again, they've got to play. The Cowboys have lost 3 in a row at home now. Okay? So this team, I don't get it, because something is really wrong with the psyche when you're that bad away from your home field.
Yeah, something's happening there.
Yep.
All right, Aaron Rodgers says after the game that he needs to play better in order for that team to win. He said, again, he just missed some hits.
Well, he does, but see, the thing about it is I'm not going to just leave it right there. Like, for example, you see that play with Jordy Nelson. To me, that's a touchdown pass. If he's got the kind of speed that he's got, that's a touchdown pass. Not a guarantee because Williams was in the vicinity. But the
he's
point
a backup, though. I don't know if he.
But I'm just looking at it. You know, we talk about Jordy Nelson a lot, and he is talented. Yeah, very talented. But big games, he hasn't shown up either.
Oh. That's true.
He hasn't shown up. I mean, Seattle,
spread the love.
New Orleans,
it's not just
Detroit.
Okay.
I mean, they're not just, remember, with these games, y'all, they're not losing like 31-28 or something. No. I mean, their offense is being shut down. Well, I've seen Aaron Rodgers throw, and there's I mean, that could have potentially been, what, a 90-yard touchdown? I mean, listen, I'm just looking at stuff like that, and I'm like, wait a minute. Somebody got to catch the ball now.
They do.
And we go back to what you talk about when we have conversations, for example, about people like the playmaker, Michael Irvin. It's like the games like Des Bryant even. Des Bryant was like, I can't wait for 2 weeks from now
he was ready.
Get back at the Philadelphia Eagles.
As we
That's
saw.
why he's worthy of wearing number 88, because he's got that kind of attitude and that kind of swag. Right. And I wish I could see that from somebody in Green Bay.
Des did not drop the balls that hit him in the hands last night, or we'd be having a different conversation.
How about that?
He caught them all.
Time. The Packers' loss allows the Lions to move into first place in the NFC North. As Stephen A. said, they may have cost themselves.
By the way, that can get very, very interesting if Detroit gets to play at Ford Field.
Yeah, well.
Very interesting.
You going with Detroit? You ready to pick the game?
No.
You ready? Already?
But I might have to show up to that.
Again.
I might have to show up to Ford Field.
Really?
Again.
Might do that.
Making it legit.
If they got home field advantage, I might have to roll in.
Did anybody watch the game last night?